Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
And Kate, can you call the roll?
Yes. Steve Carell,
Yes.
Barb Hart,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Papich.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Great, thank you. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Hearing and seeing none, let's start with our first discussion item, which is the performance-based next step. And I believe that this is Andrew.
I don't see Andrew. And sorry, I'm having trouble getting the packet to open for me. Okay, now I've got it, so I can take over here.
Great, thank you.
So as I sent out last week, per the meeting August of 2022, your regular meeting, we had the next steps for the budget of $8,000 to see if we could see what could be done at the performance space area and reach out to JVA. And so what you've seen here in the packet is what Andrew worked on with JVA as a proposal to keep moving this forward. And so I think Andrew just wanted, since we brought it up and, we said we wanted to go through this, I think his intention was mostly just to make sure that this was covering what everyone imagined that it was covering. And that's where I'm hoping he jumps in here soon, because he'll be able to get into the details a little bit more with you all. But I'm happy to try to answer any questions that I can, if anybody has any questions on this.
Kate,
Great, thanks, Kate. And because I'm on a phone tonight, I can't see if anybody is raising a hand or wanting to comment. So if Kate can help me with that, Andrew was going to help too, but he's not on yet. So I have no questions and comments on this, what Andrew submitted.
Okay, Steve Carell, I see that you had a question.
Yes, it was just a simple question. It was sort of written in the AIM, but I just want to confirm, Kate, in case you know this or other members might remember. But Andrew stated that this proposal, the amount of $8,000 was from the proposal that he presented in August meeting. And I didn't remember it myself, which doesn't say a lot, but I just wanted to make sure that the proposal was, the proposal he presented to us that was for 8,000, and that's why we approved 8,000, because it occurred to me that it was very coincidental that JVA's proposal was 8,000, and that's what we had put toward it. So I just wanted to make sure, the horse was before the cart.
Yes. So Andrew, when we had that discussion in August, Andrew had reached out and had a preliminary conversation with JVA to get an idea about how much things could cost. And they had said between 5 and 8, depending on kind of how far we wanted them to dig. And obviously we want them to dig pretty far into things. And so that's what you're seeing there. But no, that's why that those numbers align, because before Andrew brought it to the board, he wanted to kind of have an idea of how much we would be spending on this. And I think we talked about, I might misspeak, but I believe we talked about it in July and August. And I think over the course of that is kind of where we landed on that amount, is between those meetings, him reaching out and following up with JVA. And then this is his follow-up from the August meeting, getting that formal proposal from JVA, putting it in writing so that we can sign off and move forward or tweak how we want. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, great.
Okay.
And that was sort of, I wasn't at the July meeting, but I didn't remember it from August. So thanks for clarifying. I assumed that, but I just wanted to confirm it.
No, of course. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions from the board?
This is Scott. It sounds like there isn't anything really surprising in what we're looking at here. It falls in line with what we've been discussing for a while. The one thing I may have missed along the way, I'm happy to see JVA is going to prepare up to 3 conceptual options based on floodplain study findings. Are we to understand that they're going to provide some layouts or drawings or recommendations? Are options to be, I guess, interpreted as recommendations?
So I think options, and I could be wrong. So if Andrew, have you joined us yet? So the way that I take it is it's more what's possible. So I think it's more talking about where sites that would be suitable. I think it's really just giving us that, because that was part of what our conversation was. So that's the way I took it, is that JVA is going to show us if there's ways to cite, how to cite on there, given all the constraints. That was the way that I took it. And anybody jump in if I'm misspeaking about that or have a different remembering.
That sounds like what I understand too, Kate. And that's good. I mean, even though they're not necessarily recommendations, if they're options, they wouldn't present them as
Exactly.
options, right? Unless
Yeah, because the way that we've been moving this forward is the way the board's moving forward. You know, we don't know if this is going to be anything, and we don't necessarily want to spend a lot of money to find out we can't do anything. So we're just trying to, you know, carefully move forward. But obviously, we want them to call out if there are options, or if there's not. You know, if we find out like, hey, this just isn't going to really work that well. But that's what this is really about. So it's not that we have to use what they or anything, and that's going to be, you know, what we're moving forward with. Is just more to give us an idea of what's possible and where is possible, and just to be that beginning of the conversation and see if this is something that's feasible.
Cool. If nobody else has questions, I'm willing to make a motion that we move forward with this proposal.
Do we need to have public comment?
Sure. Yeah. If you, yes, you haven't done that yet. So let's ask for it.
Is there any public on? I don't know.
I don't believe so, but it's always good to just ask at least.
Good point.
If there's no public comment, I would entertain a motion.
And just as a point of clarification, first we'll need a motion to move to action and then a motion to approve.
That's correct.
So Scott, would you like to make that motion to move it to action?
I make the motion that we move to action.
Okay, thank you.
And Kate, would you call the roll?
Steve Carreau,
Yes.
Barb Hart,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Papich.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you. The next motion
first
would
we need-
be for approval, correct? Or,
Yes,
or
yes.
an actual motion, because that was to move it to an action item.
Yes.
Scott, would you like to make a motion again?
Sure. I will move that we approve moving forward with this proposal.
Second.
And Kate, would you call the roll?
Steve Carreau,
Yes.
Barb Hart,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Papich.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Great, thank you. And the next item is the Halloween funding request. This is an item that came to the DDA through one of the Facebook pages, and it was brought to our attention that without a police department, we wouldn't have anyone to help with getting the kids safely across the street. We jumped on it, and an hour later had the answers that we needed. So here it is before you. We want to put someone to help the kids across the street at the visitor center and the carousel during Halloween. We estimate 4 hours at $57.50 per hour. Peaceful Security is already signed up to do it if you guys approve it this evening. So does anyone have any questions first?
This is Danielle. Thank you for acting so quickly on that. That was awesome.
Yeah, it came about very fast. It was awesome. If there are no other questions or comments from the board, this would also have to have a motion first to move it to an action item.
Make a motion to move this from a discussion item to an action item to approve funding for Halloween safe trick or treat.
I second.
And Kate, would you take the roll?
Steve Carot,
Yes.
Barb Hart,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Pappage.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. That wraps up our discussion items for this evening. We have some informational items, and we start with the chair report, which is in the packet, and I don't have anything to add to it. Is Ron on for a treasurer's report?
I don't believe so.
Okay, it's also in the packet in that capacity. Kate, do you have an executive director's report?
I do have a report in the packet. It's pretty straightforward. This month was really just moving these projects forward and obviously Big Springs. So it's exciting to be getting wrapping up and moving into different phases of wayfinding and public art and Big Springs and everything we got going on.
Excellent, thank you. And do we have a town staff report beyond what is in the packet?
Nope, it's Miranda. My report is in the packet, and I don't have anything else to add at this time.
Great, thank you. Beautification is going to be in November. Do we want anything on Big Springs other than what's in there? I'm very excited to see it wrapping up and the pavement done and the stripes painted.
Well, we did get some good news this morning, and that is next on the 19th. We're going to do the pre-construction and do everything with Excel that we need to. So we are hoping to be able to get everything completed before the weather really turns. And I probably will send out a little bit more of an update once Andrew and I touch base on that. Just so that everybody knows more about timing, and then also do kind of a social media blast as well when we know a little bit better about timing of things. But that's really, it's exciting that we are hopefully ending our journey with Excel on getting this gas line lowered soon.
And Kate, if I could just add something to that, I'll be in touch with Andrew and perhaps Ron, just in case Excel has any issues on the day they're doing it. You said it's going to be on the 19th?
Well, yeah, I believe that's just a pre-con, and that was one of my questions for Andrew. Like, is it a pre-con / get started? You know, which I think it kind of is. So I'll definitely follow up with you on that, Steve.
Okay, great. And I'm going to be out of the country that week, but you know, there shouldn't be any need for me there, but I just have a pretty good understanding of the building and might be able to answer questions. So yeah, so anyway, I think it should run smoothly anyway without, you know, me around. But I'll touch base with Andrew as well and let him know. he can contact you.
Sorry, testing if you can hear me. Sorry.
Yay, there's Andrew.
Sorry for being late. Apologies.
No problem. We're just talking about Big Springs. Just to catch you up really fast, everybody approved the performance space, moving forward with the performance space. And I was just giving an update about our email from Excel this morning about a pre-con on the 19th. And Steve, well, you and Steve can follow up on that, but just wanting to make sure everybody was in contact. And my question was, and I guess we just spend a second on this, is that pre-con on the 19th? Are they going to actually start work on the 19th, or are they just meeting you out there?
No, typically it's kind of a final check-in.
Okay.
And I know Nathan won't be there. I did reply to Kathleen that I will be there.
Yep.
And hopefully it'll start happening pretty soon, immediately thereafter. So
Thank you. That was what I was hoping for. That was a point I wanted some clarification on. So thank you so much. You popped in at the right moment.
Great, great. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And just getting back to, that sounds good, Andrew. And I'll get with you before, because I'll be out of the country, just in case anything, building related that Excel needs. I'll just give you contacts, for my team and a way to get hold of me in case anything comes up, because just so we don't delay unnecessarily.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Steve.
For sure. Yeah. And thank you for all you're doing to push that forward.
Yeah, Andrew, you've been amazing at helping keep this moving.
Just glad we could help rattle the chains of Excel. That's all.
It's an important rattle.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Go
It
ahead, Barb.
doesn't look like we have any other reports in the packet. Let's see, performance space we've already had, public art. Danielle, do you want anything beyond what's in the packet?
Yes. The packet's a wonderful update. I also wanted to let you guys know that we are going to be receiving an invoice from Julia Williams. The mural has been sealed and completed. And the money from the pose that they had given us will be able to cover her expenses for the extra preliminary artwork. And I hope you guys are all happy with the beautiful work she did. Thank you.
Thanks, Danielle.
Danielle, which artwork is that one that we're talking about?
Steve, that is the mural that faces the community garden on the concrete wall down the steps between Boosie Brews and the deli.
Okay, and so the artwork has already been done on that?
Yes, she started on Monday and was able to complete it within a week.
Wow, I got to go check it out. I'm excited to see that.
Excellent.
And Danielle, one other question I did have from your committee update, and I don't know if you're able to share this info, but what was the issue that got, why Jeff Austin didn't appear on that mural?
I can maybe speak to that, Danielle, if you want
Yes,
me to.
please.
Just
Thank
'cause
you, Andrew.
I've been conversing with Devlin, Jeff's widow, and in the beginning she was, excited about the idea, and as things kind of went further along, there was a time where she didn't like a certain picture, and we asked Julia to change a picture, which was fine, but that did cost that public art money. And then when it came time to do the mural release, I tried to make it as simple as I could, and even still, she was like, "Well, I don't have time, and I'm not paying any money to any lawyers to review anything, and so please pull him off of there." So I think there's still, just to be honest, a lot of raw emotion there, and
Sure.
she thought she was ready, and it just didn't quite work out that way. And I'm very appreciative of Danielle and Julia and rolling with the punches. And I think that, maybe at some point, Devlin will be ready to have things like that happen, but it seemed not. Originally, we thought it was going to be okay, but that wasn't how it worked out.
Okay, well, thanks for that more info. I was just curious and, really also just feeling like a little bit sad that, someone so cool from Ned in such an iconic band of ours, didn't end up appearing in
Yeah,
there. But
you're not the only one sad. There's a lot of people who are very sad and upset and etc. And it's just kind of best, I think, that we the DDA did what we were asked and just bowed
Sure.
out, and that's the best thing we could have done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. No, I can imagine, that there's a lot more to the story and the backstory, and yeah, no hard feelings at all. It would have been cool to see Jeff up there.
And thank you all for handling that delicate situation so respectfully.
Yeah, thank you. If there's no additional information from Public Art other than what's in the packet for wayfinding, does anyone have any additional information?
Yeah, for wayfinding, sorry that we weren't able to get anything into the packet in print, but we did meet yesterday, was it? Yeah.
Yes.
Time flies. But we were able to meet, and Kate was able to call in. She was sort of in between two meetings. So that was really nice. Thank you, Kate, for your inclusiveness on this. And essentially, we're hope to bring a lot more to the November meeting. Kate updated in the packet there a little bit about merge, and that we did discuss that in our meeting yesterday. But we were a little more focused on the app yesterday, and we just hadn't had a chance to get very far on it, so we didn't put anything in print. But just so people know, we had a nice meeting about it, and we're basically going to reach out to Andrew. I'm going to reach out to you about your mom's app in New Mexico, and Steve Roundtree is working on some other apps, and he had a really good idea about kind of looking at what's the functionality that will help us with an app, and even we want to be very broad-minded about this, so we're even thinking to the level of what can an app do that just a QR code with a static map couldn't do, because we don't want to go overboard and do something that really won't provide functionality and usefulness to the town and the tourists, and essentially to the businesses, really. So all that's to say, and Claudia knows somebody in a small town in Georgia that has an app, and she's going to reach out to that person. So the committee will be working in the next few weeks here to learn more about small town apps that exist, and Kate's going to reach out and merge for any towns he's worked with that have developed apps and give us those contacts. So essentially, we're in the early stages of just fact finding and understanding what an app can do for Nederland, and is it necessary, and what benefits can it bring, and at what costs. So we'll come back in November with some much more information on that.
Awesome.
And Steve Roundtree, please feel free to jump in with any additional ideas or things that I forgot.
No, I think you hit it, Steve. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Are there any other additional questions for wayfinding? If not, that would conclude our informational items, and I would ask if there's any other business this evening. And hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. The shortest DDA meeting ever, I think.
Wait, okay, sorry, that was just in regards to, I thought wayfinding, but you're talking period. Motion to adjourn.
Correct.
So I guess, well, there's, a couple things that have been on the, I don't know if we talked about, and I apologize for coming in late, but the challenge of the flaggers for leaf peepers, did that get mentioned, or?
No, but I can give a quick update on that. We reached out to 5 different companies, and we just weren't able to get anybody here for those 3 weekends is really actually what I tried to find when I couldn't get that first weekend. I tried to do another 2, but we just couldn't get anybody that had anybody available. And so Barb and I discussed it, and next year, since we have decided, we want to spend money this way, I'll just book out earlier, that I'll contact them earlier than we did this year.
Okay, I know there was also in kind of that dialogue, it came to, and I guess this is a discussion item, but that Frozen Dead Guy Days has outstanding debt.
Yeah,
Um,
so this item was tried. So Ron brought this to our attention, and that I had asked that we put that on for next month because there's a lot of due diligence, and Frozen Dead Guys Days has reached out to us and let us know that they're not ready to talk about it yet either necessarily. And Barb, you can jump in and tell me if I'm wrong, but this is going to be a November item. And
Yeah.
so I don't know that this is really the time to talk about it based on the feedback that we received from Frozen Dead Guys Days. That's my only reticence.
Right.
But
They're going
Barb,
to
go
they're
ahead.
going to they're going to present a press release of some sort about what's going on with the festival sometime later in October. So if they make it in time for the November meeting, we can discuss it then. So it's not something that we can just start talking about with having absolutely no information or idea from them on what they're looking for because it's not coming from them.
okay. Yeah, I just, knowing that like a lot of debts weren't paid, and 2 flaggers and porta potty people, and I realized, yeah, this information isn't coming from them, but so yeah, I'm definitely want to bring discussion about like the fact that I think town itself would be a better steward, and anyways, there's a lot of things involved there, but when it seems that it starts preventing us from hiring flaggers and etc. because of bad debt that's out there, like it's something that is important to me to talk about.
Oh, I understand. So that was not an
Yeah, no.
issue when we were looking for it. So if that is one of your concerns related to that issue, that was not an impact. In fact, that group was one of the ones that did respond and did try to find something for us, but wasn't able to. So I did not get the impression that that was an issue there. But thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. And then I guess as far as like there's recent, some more I can probably pull together and have things more organized for next month's meeting, but and maybe this is more board of trustees related, although I don't know necessarily if they have an action plan related to like acre feet of water storage and the reservoir, where we basically have to come to an agreement either with the city of Boulder. These are just some things I'm going to throw out there and bring some more facts to next meeting, but that the agreement that has been going on in the past is that town is kind of seeking additional storage, and we'll keep seeking additional storage, and now is the time where we need a significant amount of acre feet storage that's not necessarily Barker, or if it is Barker, town of Nederland gives its water rights to the city of Boulder. So there's a couple of big infrastructure things, at least related to water, one, and then two related to how Frozen Dead Guy Days has been run, and suggestions for how to correct that, make people make bad debt whole, and take it over. So those are my 2 cents. But
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. And I think one of the questions that has come up, because this just so the other board members know, this all just has come to our attention in the last 2 days. The other thing that we need to discuss is what is the DDA's role in that, and why you see the DDA's role in Frozen Dead Guys Days and curing debts, because we provided our Monday, and as far as we know that was put towards those. We obviously didn't give as much as the costs that were incurred, so we were just a small bit of the money. I think that's kind of one of the things that we will need to hash out in the next month, is that understanding that, and I've heard a couple of different proposals And so I just think that there does need to be some legwork between these two meetings on this item, and including maybe even doing some one-on-ones with all the board members to see their feelings about some of this stuff. But that was my thoughts about how to move this item forward in November, Andrew.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'd love to hear, any compelling reasons why Frozen Dead Guy Days isn't considered, critical to the central business district. But
no, it's more, that's not necessarily it. It's one of the proposals, I guess now we're going to say it a little bit. One of the proposals was to provide a bailout to Frozen Dead Guys Days, but then have first right of refusal on purchasing Frozen Dead Guys Days. And that is more, is that the role that board members see the DDA playing? That's more the question that I've been getting. And so that's it. Because you're right, it brings in business. It brings in business. We feel that it brings in business during the in-between season. And that's why we gave them more money this year than we gave to other grants. So I definitely understand that position. It's just, that's the other role that that's
yeah, and I guess
back
if
I'm
we
getting.
need, if maybe if I need to write a doodle poll of like what, members would consider the potential benefits of being able to administer an event, like the town of Nederland being able to administer an event as opposed to a private party who hasn't done a great job recently, and like that, I think, because it seems that every year this is going to keep going on. So, yeah.
It seems like we're getting really off track for something that's not come to the board yet. So I would like to see an aim for this next month with all of the information requested, but more than anything, before the people at Frozen Dead Guy Days are willing to share that information publicly, I think that the conversation should stop, because we're not doing them any good by going back and forth saying this, when they could change their mind tomorrow. When they're ready to present it in the next couple of weeks, which is what they said at the end of this month, then we can bring it forward to the board. But otherwise, we're just speculating back and forth.
Well, that's okay to speculate, right? I mean,
Yes, but you're sharing a lot of information that is not public at this point. So I don't know that we need to speculate in a public meeting. I think that we need to bring that back when they're ready to share that information. And my messages back and forth with them was that they were not ready. So I don't think that we should be sharing that information until they're ready. That's all.
I've shared that's not public,
No, none of it is public yet. So I think that the best thing to do would be wait for them to come up with some kind of a statement that they're willing to make. Until then, it's not coming to us. So I just wish that we would wait until we have the information properly that they are sharing with us, that any of this could even be a possibility.
Okay.
I mean, I think to Andrew's point here, I think the dialogue on this is very public right now. There's a lot of
There's no secrets here.
Yeah, it's a public topic that's gone down a very interesting path right now. So I think what Andrew's trying to do is have a conversation around an event that the DDA supported, and that has gone totally sideways. So I understand his perspective on trying to at least establish a dialogue around the support that the DDA provided for an event and what that potentially looks like. So.
And we have asked for the information on whether or not our money was paid to where it was supposed to go. So until we have that information, it's like we can go back and forth for the next hour if you want to about what we could do, but they haven't publicly said this is what they're doing. So I'm just not sure this is the time to approach it. I think that it needs to come to us with an aim, with information, including whether or not that money was used as we designated it, so that we can talk about it as a board.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but we're also 6 months past the point in time where the event occurred and the money should have been spent. So I think it's the dialogue that Andrew's creating, I think, is totally appropriate in a public venue.
Okay.
this is Steve Carell. May I just chime in on, I don't want to further this particular discussion necessarily, but I think one thing that it brought up for me just hearing this is perhaps, and I can write an email to you after, but I think that it brought up for me the point that if we're giving organizations money for a particular purpose, we might, as a DDA, might be better served by paying those bills directly to the companies that are hired for the service that we said we would provide for, rather than just giving money to a pool, to an organization to use as they like. And I think that without going into any details, that theory, I think, is a great idea for fiduciary responsibility.
I think that's a great idea. I also think that we could wait until an event was over and pay the bill afterwards instead of just giving money. So, I mean, there's definitely things that we need to fine tune in our grant giving, and that's something that we can certainly discuss further, is, getting a receipt for what we did pay for, because this is an example of we just don't know. So we've asked for that information. So hopefully next month we have all of it gathered together and can come with kind of a more cohesive idea of what anybody is asking and whether or not it's even a possibility for us to do something about that. But I think that it's, I don't know how far we have to want to delve in without them having made any kind of public statement as the team that they are, and that's what we're waiting for.
That sounds great, Barbara. And I was just mentioning that I was sort of hearing this, it's new to me. So, but it brought that to mind that, wow, maybe we should pay money to flaggers directly, or, if we're giving money for flagging, why not just pay the bill up to the amount that we said we would do? And that sounds like you agree with that in theory. I just wanted to bring that up because it seems like a really salient point. And I also wanted to mention that it looks like Miranda might have her hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in super quick on that and just say, I would encourage kind of a look back, because we actually we have one of your event organizers who you gave money to now asking for a discount from staff from town to have certain things like emergency services or security be waived, which contradicts the way in which you funded them. And so I would agree that there is a need to tighten that up a bit, and I'm happy to sit down with whoever you assign to, because we're seeing that on our end as well.
Great, thank you, Miranda.
Back to you in thinking that, let's bring this back at the next meeting when we have more facts, let's say, instead of just public discourse. But but that, just in theory, that idea I thought was worth mentioning right now.
Great, thank you so much, Steve. That makes a lot of sense.
This was brought up at the time. I suggested that we pay the vendor directly. And one of the reasons I made this proposal is the fact that I don't think that that suggestion at the time it was brought up was considered. And I think it's a major component of everything we do with events now. Steve is absolutely right. We should be paying the vendors directly and not throwing it into the pool of funds of the event organizer. That's all I have to say.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments about this?
This is Scott. Can I ask about something else?
Of course.
Okay, this will be a quick one. So a few minutes ago, Kate mentioned that we didn't actually have the leaf peeping flaggers or traffic control. It just didn't happen. So I'm presuming that money stays in the budget that's available during ski season if we wanted to. Is that correct?
Yes, that was the thought, that we would use that. And I actually have a to-do for tomorrow to follow up with Steve Roundtree about a couple of questions I have around that. But that was the thought, to look into that, as Ron brought it up at the last meeting, that if there was a balance of funds, to look at some weekends to target to be helpful with that. And obviously, after my experience with trying to get those flaggers, I want to do that as soon as possible.
And so whatever problems we ran into over the last several weeks with this, we'll have to solve those problems as we move into the winter season, of course.
Eldora has two companies they work with for flaggers that they have never had a problem getting flaggers. And I think if Steve could help us on that because he's the representative from Eldora, that might well solve the problem for this year. So I think we should look to Steve for some help on flaggers because Eldora has a lot of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at short notice, we haven't had a challenge getting flaggers on site when we need them.
That's interesting because I really, and Barb also reached out and was helping me. So we really reached out to everybody that could potentially come around here, and it was no for each of those weekends. So I don't know what, but that's good for us to know. That was why I was like, okay, I guess we really need to get onto this much earlier than I thought, but that's good for me to know. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, we've typically been able to, when needed, under 24-hour notice, get people on site.
Great, thank you. We would take more names on the list happily, but the ones that we reached out to said they are short-staffed, were not working outside their district, and did not have availability before October, which is when we were looking was September. Are there any other questions or comments about that? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
We adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
And we're still the shortest meeting in history.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Barbara. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.